This is my continuing coverage of the health care bill. And do you remember in my last video where I said Section 3729 of Title 31 of the United States Code? Well, I found it for you. Yes, I have found Title 31. I found Section 3729. And we're going to show you Paragraph 1 and Paragraph 2 of 3729A. Okay? Alright. There it is. Alright. It says liability for certain acts. Well, this is paragraph 1. In general, subject to paragraph 2, any person who knowingly presents or causes to be presented a false or fraudulent claim for payment or approval. In other words, they're saying, well, you should pay me, but the claim isn't legit. Knowingly makes, uses, or causes to be made or used a false record or statement material to a false or fraudulent claim, conspires to commit a violation of subparagraph A, B, D, E, F, or G, has possession, custody, or control of property or money used to be used by the government and knowingly delivers or causes to be delivered less than all of that money or property, is authorized, is authorized to make or deliver a document certifying receipt of property used or to be used by government and intending to defraud the government makes or delivers the receipt without completely knowing the information on the receipt is true. Okay? So in other words, somebody gives, let's say person A gives person B a document. Okay? And this document is some kind of a receipt. You know how you have sales receipts? Well, these receipts are government receipts. Okay? And the receipts are describing, let's say, a house used by the government or a car used by the government, so on and so forth. Okay? Now, the thing is that person B delivers to the government this receipt that says that this so-and-so property was used, whether it was office equipment, whether it was a car or a house or whatever. And person B delivers that to the government without knowing that that property was indeed used by the government. Okay? Person B was supposed to check out if person A actually used that car or that house or that office equipment for the government. They didn't check it out. F. Knowingly buys or receives as a pledge of an obligation or debt public property from an officer or an employee of the government or a member of the armed forces who lawfully may not sell or pledge property. In other words, if person B buys from person A, okay, a house or a car or some office equipment that person A had no right to sell, okay, knowingly makes, uses, or causes to be made use a false record or statement of material to an obligation to pay or transmit money or property to the government, or knowingly conceals or knowingly and improperly avoids or decreases an obligation to pay or transmit money or property to the government, is liable to the United States government for a civil penalty of not less than $5,000 and not more than $10,000 as adjusted by the Federal Civil Penalties Inflation Adjustment Act of 1990. Wow, that's a mouthful. plus 3 times the amount of the damages which the government sustains because of the act of that person. So in other words, if they do what they're not supposed to do, they're going to be immediately fined $5,000 or up to $10,000 for doing it, and then they have to pay restitution for what they just did, and up to 3 times the amount that they should have paid. Okay. Now what's this paragraph 2? Reduce damages. If the court finds that the person committing the violation of this subsection furnishes officials of the United States responsible for investigating false claims violations with all the information known to such person about the violation within 30 days after the date on which the defendant first obtained the information. In other words, if person B decides to cooperate with the government and trying to apprehend person A, then the damages will be reduced. Paragraph B. Such person fully cooperated with any government investigation of such violation. So person B, of course, cooperates with the government. C. At the time such person furnished the United States with the information about the violation, no criminal prosecution, civil action, or administrative action had commenced under this title with respect to such violation, and the person did not have actual knowledge of the existence of an investigation into such violation. In other words, if person B realizes there's a mistake that has been made before the government figures it out, and person B turns that all in, then they don't have to pay as much. The court may assess not less than 2 times the amount of damages which the government sustains because of the act of that person. So in other words, instead of 3 times the damages, it's only 2 times the damages. Costs of civil actions. A person violating this subsection shall also be liable to the United States government for the cost of a civil action brought to recover any such penalty or damage. In other words, person B will be responsible for court costs to prosecute this whole thing. Isn't that nice? Okay. So, now you know all that information. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.